Hello and welcome back to Toy Thursday with Johnny Tiger on July 6th, 2023. And we are opening the episode with Penguin from Batman, and there's a reason for that. Because today's special day, get ready for this one, is Umbrella Cover Day. Yeah, my reaction was kind of WTF when I heard about this. And then I did some research. So, Umbrella Cover Day is a day where people are encouraged to celebrate not just umbrella covers, but all the little stuff, all the mundane stuff we get to enjoy in our daily life. So, it's a day of appreciation. There is an umbrella cover museum of all things that is on Peaks Island in the United States at Portland, Maine. And this was built by Nancy 3 Hoffman in 1996. In 2014, Nancy 3 Hoffman officially made this day, July 6th, the umbrella cover day for people to celebrate mundane little things like umbrella cover. Quirky, yes, but kind of cute as well. And if you check out the website of the Umbrella Cover Museum, they have a virtual online tour for those of you who can't get there in person. The online tour will show you umbrella covers from different parts of the world and from different time throughout history. So yeah, pretty cool. Now, if I wanted to, I could very well just do this episode with Penguin because he got an umbrella, so that would totally make sense. But that would be kind of boring, so we are not going to do that. We are going to go a little bit off into the left field, and we are going to take Umbrella Cover Day entirely out of context. Around 1995, when me and my siblings were still going to high school and we first got into PlayStation, yeah, so long ago, and we came across this game that defied our expectation in every way there was, and it was unlike any game that we have came across before then. And this game and the following games from this same franchise has since become one of my all-time favorite video game franchises. And also the characters, toys from this game and this franchise, I should say, has always been sort of a kind of holy grail for me. Uh, and the ironic part is, I couldn't even play games in this franchise. That's how crazy it is. The game I'm talking about, of course, is Biohazard, also known as Resident Evil, which is still going strong today. So many years later, they're still making Resident Evil video games. And that is just like so incredible. But I totally understand because when you talk about zombies, when you talk about horror, science fictions, shooting games, guns and stuff like that, and just a good jump scare. There's just not that many games that are going to rank above the whole Resident Evil series of games. The first game that we came across in 1995, Resident Evil 1, was horrifying, scary, and full of unexpected gruesomeness, if that is even a word. And for those of us who didn't grow up knowing science fiction, for those of us who grew up in a more like traditional Chinese culture, Resident Evil was a breath of fresh air. We had no idea what was going on, and what were those monsters in the game? What were the people trying to do? It was just uh, deliciously weird and horrifying. And then, of course, Resident Evil 2 came out, and that just improved upon everything, and so on and so on. I've since lost track of what's new about Resident Evil nowadays. My knowledge of Resident Evil pretty much stopped around Resident Evil 5 or maybe Resident Evil 6. Um, but like I said, characters, especially the monsters from Resident Evil video games, has always been the kind of thing that if someone make it, and if I can afford them, and if they fit in with my collection, I will get them. It's just like something that almost goes without saying. Um, many companies have attempted to make Resident Evil toys, including the company that made the one that I'm going to show you guys today, which was ToyBiz in 1998, I believe. Other companies such as Palisade, NECA, Moby Dick Toys, Hot Toys, and many more have attempted the license with various degrees of success. NECA actually made some really good ones. However, I unfortunately was going through some financial difficulties, so I totally missed out on most of those NECA Resident Evil action figures. And the hot toy ones are just out of the question. They are too big for my collection and they are way too expensive. I'm not going to spend 300, $200 or $300 a piece, even if it's Resident Evil. Um, so unfortunately, most of my collection came down to the early attempt by Palisade and some Toy Biz ones, and um, those were fun, but they were none of them were really well made. I have a few from Moby Dick Toy, which was extremely well made, but so expensive that after getting a few of them, I had to call it quit. Uh, because again, they being import from Japan, the price was crazy, like $100, $200 for a couple of figures that, and also the problem with those is the scale they were made in don't really fit in with anything I have. So yeah. Um, Now some people say, well, okay, you're blabbering on about Resident Evil, but you're showing us Mr. Fantastic. What's going on? And what does this all have to do with Umbrella Cover Day? Well, I think those of you that know about Resident Evil video games would know where I'm going with this. You see, if I have to give you a quick rundown of what Resident Evil is about, because there's no way I'm going to sit here and be able to give you the whole story. Like I said, the Resident Evil game have been made from 1995 all the way to now. So there's like 20 odd years of history and backstories and twists and turns in there. But the story, luckily, is actually quite a simple one. There's this bad guy. There's this evil corporation and they are a big, giant pharmaceutical company, supposedly making medicines to help people. Unfortunately, they are also secretly developing bioweapons and messing with genetics and making monsters, making ways to create monsters to sell to militaries and other countries, whoever want to buy these bioweapons. Uh, and long story short, uh, something went wrong in their laboratory, and the bioweapons got out. The virus that were making got out, and turned the entire city into zombies. And then there were these good guys. They are policemen and soldiers that try to survive. And in the story, depending on which game you're playing, you control the fate of one of these soldiers or police officers and deal with these bioweapons and try to survive, get out of the city. Usually there's like a time limit. Either the city is going to be uh, destroyed by the military, or there's some kind of self-destruct that's going to wipe out the building you're in. So there is a bit of pressure in how to get out alive. In addition to the monsters and all that stuff, most of these games are full of puzzles and things, riddles, and mysteries you have to solve. Like you of course have to figure out, okay, where did these zombies and monsters come from, and you have to find different clues and complete the storyline. And sometimes if you push this statue the right way, or if you play a certain song on the piano, it will unlock a secret door. Really, really cool. Even though I couldn't physically play the game, my brothers, because they were not very good at puzzles, so a lot of time I actually was the one that helped them solve the puzzles. So they would do the action, they would control the character and shoot the zombies and stuff like that and do the walking. But whenever we came across a puzzle, especially if they were musically related or memory related, I would be the one that helped them out with that. Now, this evil corporation, this evil pharmaceutical company is called Umbrella, which is why we are talking about Resident Evil and Umbrella Cover Day. Now, Umbrella has many, many evil scientists, evil creations, and it is one of these we are going to be looking at today. And the reason I'm using Mr. Fantastic from Fantastic Four is there's actually no action figure of the scientist William Birkin, uh, not when he's human anyway. So before we get to the monster part, I need someone to fill in with William Birkin as a human. And I figure, oh well, Mr. Fantastic's a scientist, a guy in a lab coat. I imagine if there's an action figure of William Birkin, it will look very similar to this. So I figure he fits the bill while we get to that part of the story. So we go back to the beginning of the story when Umbrella first started experimenting with mutations and genetic modification. So they first came up with this thing called the T virus, and this was done by a scientist called Marcus. Uh, but unfortunately, Marcus was kind of an unstable individual. So everything kind of blew up in their face. There was a big accident, and uh, a lot of people got turned into zombies and crazy, scary creatures, and Umbrella, because they still want to maintain that they are a good corporation, they're a pharmaceutical corporation. They swept the whole thing under the rug and burned everything down and basically told everybody it was just like an unfortunate accident with some weird virus. They had nothing to do with it and all that stuff, right? Yeah, hey, that sounds almost like COVID. So anyway, after that, a couple of the higher ranking scientists in their bioweapon uh, branch started working on, okay, how do we improve on this T virus thingy? Because while T virus was kind of cool, all it really did was turn people into zombies. Yeah, once in a while you get some crazy mutations like giant spiders or crazy huge monster snake and stuff like that. But those were very unstable, and you couldn't count on those things to always happen. So the T virus was more like a prototype that really couldn't be counted on for anything financially or commercially. So the scientist, one of them was our main guy today, William Birkin, and his wife Annette Birkin. They started to work on their own version of this virus to try to improve upon it. Their version, which was going to be better than the T virus in every single way, is called the G virus. Now, how is T virus different from G virus? We'll touch a little bit upon that later, but suffice to say, for now, just understand this. T virus turn people into zombies. G virus will let you evolve into something nearly indestructible. Right? It still turns into you into monster, but it will make you a lot stronger than a zombie. And while you can shoot a zombie in the head to kill it, things that come from a G virus, they're so crazy that they'll continue to evolve and adapt to whatever injury that threaten their existence. But like I said, we'll probably get to that a little bit later as well. So William Birkin started working on the G virus, and he was having great success with his work. However, around 1998, yeah, I know, back then, remember a lot of these came out in 1995, so they made it 1998. Obviously nowadays it no longer sounds like something so serious, but if you play a video game in 1995 that tell you the world is going to end and everyone's going to turn to zombies in 1998, it has more of an impact, right? So anyway, around 1998, William Birkin had, let's call it a stroke of conscience. He had, he suddenly his conscience was starting to get to him. He realized that he was making monsters. He was helping Umbrella Corporation create this crazy, crazy virus that's going to turn people into monsters. So, the time is now 8 p.m. Thank you. So he decided to not give the virus to Umbrella. He decided to uh, want to hand the virus over to the United States government for them to do whatever they would with it. Or maybe he sold it to the United States government. I don't know. Like in the game, it was never really that clear why he changed his mind and betrayed his employer. But the gist of the story is he decided to change his mind and hand the virus over to the United States government. Now, unfortunately for him, his change of heart quickly got found out by his employer, so his employer sent over a squad of very mean, very proficient, very uh, well armed people to reason with him. And of course, by reasoning with him, I mean they were supposed to take all the G virus sample he have and destroy his family and bring the G virus sample back to Umbrella. Well, William Birkin, being that G virus is his baby, his creation, refused to hand it over. And just like any reasonable, well armed, professional people, these mercenaries shot him dead in his laboratory for refusing to hand over the virus. Now, I will say this at least they did not kill his wife and daughter, at least in the game. They just, I shouldn't say just, they shot him dead and then took the suitcase where the G virus sample were in, and then they walked away. Didn't look like they were going to go after his family, so I mean, some saving grace there. However, these mercenaries made a grave mistake. They should have checked his person because what they didn't know was, as he was laying there dying, he, Dr. William Birkin had one vial of the G virus in his hand, and with his dying bit of strength, he injected himself with the G virus. Now, I did mention that the whole thing, the biggest attraction about the G virus is the virus will repair whatever is injured on your person and then evolve you to overcome that injury in the future. So, because William Birkin is laying there shot full of holes by the mercenary, he injected himself with the G virus, hoping that it will help him survive, and it did. and it also mutated him because obviously the G virus combined with his genetic, and the G virus decided, oh, well, this human flesh are kind of frail. Look at what these bullets almost killed us. Let's fix that. Let's fix this guy and turn him into something that won't be threatened by bullets in the future. So when William Birkin got back off the ground, he was no longer William Birkin. He was now known as, well, the G virus. Now, throughout the entire game, which this took place in Resident Evil 2, the second game, um, throughout the entire game, William, now known as G virus, will transform multiple times. Every time you encounter him with your character and you have to defeat him, he will transform again. He will evolve into something the weirder looking and scarier looking until at the very end, when he transformed into his fifth generation or G5 transformation, he just looked like a really big blob of flesh and tentacles and teeth and like there's not even any shape to him anymore. And at that point, he's nearly unkillable, pretty much. And in the end, the only way that he was killed was the entire facility blowing up and killing like destroying his whole body that way. Like bullets and any kind of other weapons weren't doing the trick by that point. Um, Now, there has never been, as far as I know, toys made of his first two, his G1 and G2 transformation, and I don't think there's ever been a G5 made either. However, today I'm going to show you the transformation when he did his G3 and his G4 transformation, which is actually accomplished by one single action figure. Something that's kind of really, really cool, especially when you consider that it was done in 1998. So, backtracking a little bit, our dying scientist injecting himself with the G virus, and then G virus mutated the hell out of him, and he now is this giant, scary monster. And needless to say, he is very pissed. He's pissed off, and he's going to go after those mercenaries.